I got Collier-Wise.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Holland.
Here.
Humphrey.
Here.
Mines.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Mayor Powell.
Everyone please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Maybe I'll just switch back to mine. Right, we have the minutes from July 3rd, 2017 regular meeting, July 3rd, 2017 special meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve both sets of minutes. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4 is the adoption of the agenda. Mike or John, do we have any additions or corrections?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as printed. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Visitors to be heard. Items not on the agenda. Members of the public may speak under visitors to be heard on any topic not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes and no decision will be made at this time. For agenda items, public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced by the chair and explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes may speak at one time for 5 minutes on each agenda item. Public testimony will then be closed and the topic will be given to the governing body for possible action. At this point, only city council members and staff may discuss the current agenda item unless a council member moves to allow another person to speak and there is unanimous consent from the council. Questions from council members, however, may be directed to staff or a member of the public through the presiding officer at any time. Is there any person in the audience that has an item they'd like to bring forward at this time that is not on the current agenda? Seeing none, council members? Okay. Moving on to public hearings. Item 6A. Special daily on-sale malt beverage and wine license for the Vermillion Area Chamber and Development Company on or about July 20th, August 3rd, August 17th, and August 31st, 2017 on Rodingen Platz, half block of Market Street south of West Main Street and West Main Street as it abuts the Platz for Thursdays on the Platz. Mike?
The Vermillion Chamber and Development Company has submitted an application for the special daily malt beverage and wine license for the Thursdays on the Platz events on the dates listed. They've also indicated dates of July 27th, August 10th, August 24th, and September 7th for rain dates, which will only host an event if an earlier date is canceled. The notice of hearing is included in the packet along with the police chief's report, which indicates there has been no incidents with the event held in previous years. The requests to exceed allowable noise levels and street closing are later on the agenda. This VCDC is requesting the permit for selling beer and wine on city properties. They have provided a certificate of insurance naming the city of Vermillion as an additional insured and providing the release and indemnification, releasing the city from liability for the event. The fee is $20 per day for the 4 days plus a $15 advertising fee. Administration recommend approval of the special daily license for the dates stated as well as the alternate dates contingent upon the city council is comfortable with the applicant holding a license or unless something else is brought up at the hearing. I think we have a representative here if there's questions.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Turning to the council.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the special daily on-sale malt beverage and wine license for the Vermillion Area Chamber of Commerce on or about July 20th, August 3rd, August 17th, and August 31st, 2017 on Rodingen Platz. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6B, special permit to exceed permissible sound levels by no more than 50% for the Vermillion Area Chamber and Development Company on or about July 20th, August 3rd, August 17th, and August 31st, 2017, from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Rhinington Platz, half block of Market Street south of West Main Street and West Main Street as it abuts the Platz for Thursdays on the Platz. Mike again.
The VCDC has applied for the special permit to exceed allowable sound levels by no more than 50% for the Thursdays on the Plot events on the dates stated. They've also included possible rain dates, which would only be used to host if an event is canceled because of weather. Included in the packet is the application along with the map showing where they're doing the event there on the plots. There has not been any problem with this event in previous years. That's been brought to the attention of the city. The fee of $25 has been paid, and administration to recommend issuing the special permit unless information is presented that indicates there's a problem with the noise.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Council?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the special permit to exceed permissible sound levels for Thursdays on the Platz. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6C, special daily on-sale malt beverage and wine license for Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll, Inc. on or about September 8th and 9th, 2017, on Main Street between Washington and Church Street, Runningen Platz, Market Street from Main to Bloomingdale Street, Austin Street from Main to Kidder, Kidder Street from Austin to half block east of Market, Court Street from Main to half block south, public parking lot at Market and Kidder, and Prospect from Main Street half block north to include any other streets closed for the events. Mike.
The Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll organization has submitted an application for the special daily malt beverage and wine license for their event on September 8th and 9th on the streets stated there. This is the same location as was used last year. The notice of public hearing is attached. As the event will be held on city property, ordinance allows the city council to include such conditions and restrictions as the governing body deems appropriate. The release and indemnification releasing the city from liability for the event, along with the certificate of insurance naming the city as additional insured, have been received from the organization. The police chief memo is attached. The routine police department records checks involved with the parties there for the special event reveal no alcohol violations or issues in the past. The police chief does recommend the parameters which have been used in previous years, provides that they have some security personnel and that the police department be reimbursed for overtime wages in monitoring the event not to exceed $1,000. I guess the $1,000 are actual costs, whichever's lower. In 2016 it was $890. The alcohol purchase area be controlled as in previous years with physical barriers at Main and Prospect, Main and High, Main and Kidder, as these have individuals to verify that the people are 21 or over and are provided with bracelet during the car show on Saturday from 11 to 5. That the area where alcohol will be allowed would be increased to cover the area of Main Street from Washington and Church, and that signage be put on the areas of leaving that no alcohol beyond this point. And during the course of the event, the area used by the vendors to prepare food and the stage, People's Choice event, including Austin, Main, Kidder, and Kidder from Austin to the alley to Market, and Market between Kidder and Bloomingdale in the public parking lot southwest corner. Open consumption alcohol will be allowed with signage at each egress area to advise no alcohol beyond this point. The fee of $20 per day has been paid along with the $15 advertising fee. Later on the agenda, we'll have the street closing and the permit to exceed allowable sound levels. Administration will recommend approval of the special daily malt beverage and wine license with the hours of 5 p.m. to midnight on Friday and 11 a.m. to midnight on Saturday, contingent upon complying with the police chief's recommendation and any other information that might be brought up at the public hearing. I think we got individuals present.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Council? Steve?
Could any representative for Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll come to the mic, please?
Sure.
Yes,
Can you state your name?
Rich Job, president of the organization. I'm here to represent the group, and I'll take any questions you have.
Thank you. I had one.
Okay.
Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll has been going on for a long time, and I was on council when it started, and it seems to be successful. Can you remark on, why we continue to do it? Do we see it as a benefit to the community? Is it something that we can still afford to do, and those?
Well, I think, we try to grow the event a little bit each year, trying new and different things. We feel it's become, one of the signature events of Vermillion. It does attract a lot of people to the community for a weekend, bringing people in that are spending revenue, bringing revenue into Vermillion, all over the place, and bringing them right down to historic downtown Vermillion. Like I say, every year we try to introduce new things. I think we're probably going to have a record year this year with attendance of all areas of the event, the competitors, the vendors that are wanting to come in, expanding the kids event area this year. But yeah, it continues to grow. I think we have more tenants each year for the event, and we get nothing but positive comments from the community and people that seem to attend. So
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions?
Anyone else?
Okay.
Thanks.
I move approval of the special daily malt beverage and wine.
Does that include the police chief's parameters?
Yes. Sorry.
And that, with the second as well?
Second.
Okay. All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the special daily on-sale malt beverage and wine license for Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll with the included stated parameters. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6D is a special permit to exceed permissible sound levels by no more than 50% for Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll on or about September 8th and 9th, 2017 from 5 p.m. to midnight on Main Street between Washington and Church Street, Rottingham Platz, Market Street from Main to Bloomingdale Street, Austin Street from Main to Kidder, Kidder Street from Austin to half block east of Market, Court Street from Main to half block south, public parking lot at Market and Kidder, and Prospect from Main Street to National Street, and to include any other streets closed for the events. Mike.
Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll has applied for the special permit to exceed allowable sound levels for their bands and street dance on September 8th and 9th from 5 to midnight. This would be in the same location as last year with the same times. They have paid the $25 fee, and administration would recommend approval of the special permit unless information is presented otherwise.
Right, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Council? We've got a motion and a second to approve a special permit to exceed permissible sound levels for ribs, rods, and rock and roll. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6E, special permit to exceed permissible sound levels by no more than 50% for USD Dakota Days on Rottingham Platts half block of Market Street south of West Main Street and portion of West Main Street abutting the Platts on or about October 4th, 2017 from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. for celebration of Dakota Days event with DJ. Mike?
Lucas Lund, on behalf of the Dakota Days Committee, has filled out the application for a special permit to exceed the allowable noise levels for a celebration of Dakota Days event on October 4th to be held in the Rottingham Platts and Market Street and portion of Main Street. The request to close a portion of Market and Main or later on the agenda. They've had this event in previous years as part of their Dakota Days activities. The fee of $25 has been paid, and administration would recommend approval of the special permit unless information is presented otherwise.
All right, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Turning to the council.
Move approval. Williams?
We've got a motion and a second to approve the special permit to exceed permissible sound levels for Dakota Days event. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There's no old business, so moving on to new business. Item 8A, request to close West Main Street from the west line of the intersection of Prospect Street and West Main Street west through Rottingham Platts and Market Street from West Main Street south to East-West Alley between West Main Street and Kidder Street on July 20th, August 3rd, August 17th, and August 31st, 2017 from 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. for the Thursday on the Platts events. And Jake?
All right, thanks, Kelsey. You pretty much read everything I had to present. So again, this just goes along with what we discussed earlier on and you just approved. Fire, police, and EMS have looked at this event and they don't have any issues with it. This is the same as how the event's been held in the past, and you can see I've got the map here just showing where that street closure is going to be on Main and then part of Market. We're not aware of any issues in the past, and administration recommends council approve this street closure.
Great. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Turning to the council. We have a motion and a second to approve the request to close the street for Thursday on the Platts. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 8B, street closure request for ribs, rods, and rock and roll on or about September 8th and 9th, 2017 on Main Street between Washington and Church Street, Rottingham Platts, Market Street from Main to Bloomingdale Street, Austin Street from Main to Kidder, Kidder Street from Austin to half block east of Market, Court Street from Main to half block south, and Prospect from Main Street to 1 block north. Jake.
All right, so you already allowed them to make noise and drink out in the streets, so we should probably close the streets as well. And so this is just simply a street closure request. A few things to note on the map here. The section in red or pink on the maps you might have, starting on Friday, September 8th at 7 a.m., those sections will be closed until Sunday, September 10th at noon. And then the blue sections will be closed in addition to the red sections on Saturday, September 9th from 6 a.m. and then until 5 p.m. of that day. Police, fire, and EMS have been notified of this. They have no concerns. It's very similar to last year, I think only just a slight bit larger on Prospect. We do realize, this is a longer event. But last year we didn't have any complaints about this, and it sounds like it is a very popular event for the community, so we recommend approval of that. And so if you have any easy questions, I'd be happy to take those. Any difficult questions, and I think we have some representatives from the group.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? Council? We've got a motion and a second to approve the street closure request for Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 8C, request to close West Main Street from the west line of the intersection of Prospect Street to West Main Street west through Rottingham Platz, and Market Street from West Main Street south to East-West Alley between West Main Street and Kidder Street on October 4th, 2017, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. for a USD Dakota Days event. Malachi.
Yeah, so earlier you folks approved the noise permit for Bermtown Bash, and now this is the street closure for that same event. Lucas Lunn, on behalf of the Dakota Days Executive Committee, has submitted this street closure request, and basically we would be closing the street from Prospect Street here to the alleyway between Core Trust and Mead Lumber, and then all the way from West Main Street down to Kidder. And this event took place last year, and I think it took place the year before that as well.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this topic? Seeing none, council? We've got a motion and a second to approve street closure request for Vermtown Bash. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, request to close North Plum Street from East Cherry Street to South Dakota Highway 50 on Friday, August 18th, 2017, 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. for USC's move-in day in Malachi.
So it's about that time of year again when hundreds of new college students come streaming into town. I know we're all looking forward to that. I certainly am. But we have a street closure request from USD to basically close off North Plum Street from Highway 50 all the way down to East Cherry Street. And this is to allow the freshmen and their parents room, I guess, to move everything into the North Complex dorms.
All right. If anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this topic, turn to the council.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the street closure request. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E, request to close Rose Street from Coyote Village to Dakota Dome on Friday, August 18th, 2017, 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. for USD's move-in day. And again, Malachi.
And then going along with what we just presented and what we just heard, USD would like to close Rose Street from the Dakota Dome down to Coyote Village, just to allow student athletes and the lucky 1% of freshmen who get to live in Coyote Village. I lived there freshman year. It was fantastic. It was great. But this would basically allow them room to be able to move everything that they need to move into their new dorms.
Okay. Council? Got a motion and a second to approve the street closure request. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mix it up a little bit. Make sure you're paying attention. All right, item F, first reading of ordinance 1358 to amend Title 11, Section 114.01 to 114.09 to update the current taxi ordinance to reflect state legislature and to update taxi regulations, as well as including Section 114.10 to set regulation on possible transportation network companies coming to City of Vermillion. Derek.
Thank you. So the first day I started working for the City of Vermillion, I was presented with the taxi ordinance, and I discovered it hadn't been updated since 1975. So this current ordinance on the agenda tonight reflects current South Dakota state legislation regarding taxi regulations, and it provides more transparency, accessibility for the potential of a taxi business operating in Vermillion. And another important piece of legislation that South Dakota passed was the ability for transportation network companies to operate within the state of South Dakota. These companies are otherwise known as Uber or Lyft. And one of the big differences in this ordinance that we have compared to other cities is the issuance of business license. And if a taxi business is going to get their business license, they would get approval by the city council. A TNC, or a transportation network driver, would get their business license by approval from the city manager. And the reason for this is because a TNC driver would need a speedier process because they operate alone and they have way less overhead than an entire taxi business would have. And they're not actually registering as a transportation network company. They are just affiliated to it. Another difference would be a transportation network company has to provide all their information, their fares, their driver's license, their insurance on their digital network, which can be a website or an application on a media device like a phone. And they can only accept payments through that digital network, so they can't accept cash payments or anything along those lines. With transportation becoming more modern and accessible, the administration thinks it's important for us to adopt regulations on these transportation network companies, especially with Vermillion housing the University of South Dakota. The potential for these companies coming to Vermillion is much more likely. So, administration recommends approval of the first reading of this ordinance. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this topic? I guess just Dave? No? Okay. Council? Any further discussion?
I just have a question, sir. The opportunity for public hearing on fees then will come with the second reading.
Yep.
Correct? So there will be an opportunity for people to provide input on that sort of thing. So.
Yep, sure will.
Okay,
Second
thank
reading.
you.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the first reading of Ordinance 1358. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item G, 2016 Audited Comprehensive Annual Report. Mike.
At noon today, Jeff Peters with Williams and Company reviewed the audited annual report for 2016. As the Department of Legislative Audit has oversight over the city audit, a copy of their letter accepting the report was also handed out at noon. Jeff Peters with Williams and Company provided what he's called his management letter to Kelsey after the meeting and Rich. I made copies of that and they were handed out to everybody tonight. I know you haven't had a chance to read it, so if you do, going through that, or when you got your copy of the annual report today, if you sat down and had questions after reading through it this afternoon, I'd be happy to answer any question, but if something does come up later, I would gladly take any questions or try to explain the report a little bit. What we request from the City Council tonight is to recommend the City Council accept the audited comprehensive annual report for 2016. Following acceptance by the City Council, we'll get a copy of it posted on our website, get copies over the library, and then we'll disseminate copies of either the hard copy or the electronic copy to individuals that request copies of our report. I think hard copies were handed out to everybody at noon today. If you do one electronic copy, I can get you one sent. If you don't want the hard copy, if you give it back to me, we will use it for those that want hard copies sent to them.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this topic? Council? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item H, permit for consumption but not sale of alcoholic beverages for Clay County Fair Value Added Ag Day on Friday, July 11th, 2017 from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Fairgrounds Rabbit Barn east of High Street and south of West Cherry Street. Mike.
Grace Freeman is working with Clay County Fair Value Added Ag Day. They're got that planned for Friday, August 11th at the fair from 3 to 7. They're hoping to get vendors there to provide samples of products that they produce here locally, some of them being those that produce wine or whiskey or malt beverages. A copy of the request has been included in the packet. State statute provides that the governing body of the municipality may permit the consumption but not sale of alcoholic beverages on property owned by the public. The city council may approve a permit for the sale. And this property is property that was owned by the city. It's leased to Clay County and subleased to the Clay County Agricultural Fair Association. Administration would recommend approval of the special permit to allow consumption but not sale of alcoholic beverages from the Clay County Value Added Ag Day event on Friday, August 11th from 3 to 7 p.m. on the fairgrounds. Rabbit Barn, which is located east of High and south of Cherry Street.
Thank you, Mike. And just to clarify, the agenda does say July 11th, but the event is August 11th.
Yes.
All right. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say on this? No. Council?
Mike, I noticed with this, it's not sale, just consumption, but we still don't have the requirements to police the area to make sure there are people 21 or they're a certain area. It's not mentioned at all.
This would be like they're handing out samples, and so the individuals doing that are also have to have their license to produce that. Mm-hmm. So they would have to be required to provide them samples to people over the age of 21.
So it's individual vendors' responsibility to,
yes,
to do that. And I assume also you can't walk away from there drinking it?
Yeah, they would be the ounce or 2 ounce samples, so that have to be controlled, just what the permit is allowing it just in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Has it ever included whiskey before?
This is the first time I've known it being done at the fair, but that's what she included on her application. I guess we have one of the businesses, Eldon, does produce some distilled spirits, and so they were saying they hoped he would come and do that. I don't know for sure exactly who all's coming to this.
Well, I move approval.
I think we had a motion, so
did
you want
we?
to take a second?
I'll second it.
Wonderful. We have a motion and a second to approve the permit for consumption but not sale at Clay County Fair Value Added Ag Day. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item I, resolution to authorize a USDA Community Facilities Grant application for public safety AEDs. And Jake.
All right, so on this one, we learned from the Department of Agriculture that they have a community facilities grant that they give to smaller communities for essential services. And once we learned this opportunity, we turned it to our department heads, and our police, fire, and EMS have indicated that they have planned to have an AED, automated external defibrillator, in every first responder vehicle. This is something we've planned to spend money on. But as part of this grant that we found could help cover the cost of this, because of our size, we could we'd actually only have to pay 45%. The USDA would pay the other 55% of 8 AEDs, and so our portion would drop down from about $12,000 to $5,400. This is money we are already hoping to spend, and so if we could get this grant, that'd be great. So all we really need is that for council to authorize us. This is just one of the boxes we have to check on the applications, and the governing body has authorized the city manager to apply for this. Any questions?
Tom?
I don't know if this is still true. Is a prescription still needed for an AED? At one time they were, but I don't know if that's still true. Do you happen to know?
To the best of my knowledge, I do not believe that's the case
And
anymore.
that doesn't have to do with the grant, but
No, yeah.
But,
Wouldn't be part of the grant. That's a good question.
I move to approve authorizing the city manager to complete and submit the grant for AEDs.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the USDA Community Facilities Grant application. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to bid openings, we've got item A, Prentice Park basketball courts. Jose.
Thank you. As part of the improvements taking place at Prentice Park, the city is planning to construct replacement basketball courts north of the new pool. The replacement courts will consist of 2 full-size basketball courts laid out on a concrete pad measuring 85 feet by 125 feet. After the concrete portion is completed, the Parks and Rec Department will contract out for the installation of the playing surface and any other amenities required. Bids were open on July 12th. At the bid opening, we received 6 bids. The low bid was from M&M Construction from Vermillion for $61,957.05. The city's estimate was $75,500. Bidding is required by state law for any project that's estimated to exceed $50,000 or higher. Due to our estimate being $75,500, we went out to bids. This project will be paid out of the Prentice Park Improvements Fund. The budget will need to be revised during the revision session here coming up to include this expenditure. Administration recommends awarding the project to M&M Construction for Vermillion for the amount of $61,957.05.
Thanks, Jose. Any questions from the audience on this item? Council, Steve.
So there was a big difference in the amount of the bids, and was there a radical difference in what the bids included, or does they
No,
all
all the
apply to
bids-
the same specs?
They all have the same specs. Some of it has to do with, I actually talked to the high bid after the fact, and he said he had some time and he wanted to bid it, and if he was a low, he was a low. So he just wanted to put a bid in it. That was all. But as far as the other guys, it all depends on how hungry they are at the time. It's kind of a weird time to have a project out to bid, but in this case, it actually worked out for us.
One more question.
Go ahead.
Don't mind. When do you expect the project to be completed so that play can be on?
There is a completion date of November 30th. However, the way that we're doing this, along with other projects this year, is that we're going to start a clock as soon as he says, I'm going to start the project. So if he says, I'm going to start the project, let's say Friday, then after that day, then he has 10 weeks to get it done. But he can't go past that November 30th date.
Thank you very much.
Rich?
Jose, you said something in passing that I didn't catch before. This is just for the cement?
This is just for the concrete, yep.
Okay, so then we have another contract, another bid coming out for the nets and poles and coating?
It's probably not going to be a bid. It's probably just going to be a quote for the playing surface and any other amenities that may be required at that point.
But you feel it will still get done this year?
The concrete will get done. As far as the other stuff, I'm not sure if it will or not. But I'm not in charge of that part, so.
Thank you, Jose.
Yep.
Anyone else? Entertain a motion. Got a motion and a second to approve the low bid. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jose. Okay, John with the city manager's report.
Thank you. The tower company representative has not gotten back to us yet with a date when they will have the information that the council and the community requested. I think that was at one of your June meetings, if I remember correctly. So it will not, well, I guess I don't have a date to report yet. As soon as we do have the information, we'll let the council know. We'll put that out on our city's website. But as of right now, I don't have the information as to when that ordinance would be coming back to you. I think we've had pretty good press on this, but just a reminder, the DOT public meeting in the South Dakota Highway 50 bypass reconstruction project, that'll be on Tuesday, July 25th, and it'll be here in the City Council chambers from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. I think since the last meeting, we did have clarification on the exact time, but it's 5:30, 6:30 on Tuesday, the 25th of July. The Planning Commission is in the final stages of the comprehensive plan update. They are going to have a public hearing to consider the comp plan at their next meeting on August 14th. We're also looking at, following that, a joint meeting of the City Council and Planning Commission to review the comprehensive plan. Right now, we're looking at Wednesday, August 23rd. It'd probably be like a 5:30 p.m. meeting. We'll send a note out to the council, but I guess one thing is certain is that you'd have a joint meeting with the Planning Commission to review it. I guess the uncertainty is what the exact date will be, but we'll get you a note out on that so we can identify that. A time that works for both the council and the Planning Commission. We just heard earlier this evening, we usually include here the street closing requests. So between now and your next council meeting, the 7th of August, we do have the Thursday on the Platts events on July 20th and August 3rd. Chip sealing will start next week. It will take place next week, the week of July 24th. During that time, parking will be limited on these streets. They will be getting streets ready. There'll be some temporary closure while the street is being treated. I'll just kind of read through the list of streets here. I'm not sure if it's on the website yet. If not, it'll be placed on there tomorrow and get the press release out of the streets that will receive chip seals next week. East Duke Street from Plum to Jefferson. Lincoln Street between Pine and Plum. North Pine Street from Main Street to Cherry Street. East Cedar Street from Yale to Plum, East Clark from North Dakota to North Plum Street, Summer Street between Forest and Yale, Sycamore Avenue, Ash Street, Sunset Drive, West End Drive, Dartmouth from Franklin to Dakota Street, High Street from West National to basically the fairgrounds where it turns into concrete, and then Prospect from West National to West Dartmouth. I think that's all I have to add.
All right. Go ahead, Brian.
John, do you know why the DOT meeting was changed to just 1 hour?
I think I was reporting the times that they'd reserved the meeting room for. Because we had, 2 hours or so, I think, down there. And so I think I took it based on what they wanted for the meeting room and figured that was a whole length of time. And they must have, if you will, created a window. And that's when we got the agenda with the exact times.
Okay, Tom.
And I don't expect you to know any more than anyone else if they haven't put anything out publicly, but the state of South Dakota, it seems to me, has not put out like an agenda or anything like that. I'm not able to find anything, even on websites of the official state website, what the meeting will specifically be about for this 1 hour.
I believe you're correct. I haven't been able to find anything. The website that they had on the media announcement takes you to a list of meetings where they have the minutes of meetings, but there's not actually an agenda listed on there. So, and Jose, have you seen anything? I haven't seen anything other than the meeting announcement.
No, there's no agenda for the meeting. It's just going to be a public meeting where they're going to be discussing the project. There's no actual agenda.
A public meeting on what?
It's going to be a public meeting on the project, on the Highway 50.
The Highway 50 bypass.
On the Highway 50
Okay,
bypass project.
well, there's some information. And thank you for finding that out.
Anyone else? All right, moving on to invoices payable. Does anyone have any questions for Mike?
Moved by Bill.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pay our bills. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Consensus agenda. Item 12A, set a public hearing date of August 7th, 2017 for a special permit to exceed permissible sound levels by no more than 50% for Sanford Vermillion at 20 South Plum on Sunday, September 10th, 2017 for the sculpture dedication and ribbon cutting for the new facility to include a live band.
Approval of the consensus agenda. Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consensus agenda. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Move we adjourn?
Second?
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.